One of the most commonly ignored passages in all of Scripture is don't worry. Conversely, the most common command given in the entire Bible is don't be afraid. The Bible tells us, don't worry, don't be afraid. We read the passages, and then we turn around and we ignore them. So we have anxiety. We're not anxious about everything, but we're all anxious about something. We get anxious about our health, about our relationships, our finances, about the future. We stress about work, responsibilities, big decisions. Stress is an inward response to worry, and anxiety is the natural byproduct of our fears. And we might use different words for it, we might call it different things, but it all boils down to fear. We have fear. We fear what we don't know, we fear making mistakes, we fear not being in control. And so over and over in the Bible, God tells us, don't be afraid. But he doesn't just leave us with the command, he also tells us how. In the Gospel of Luke, he says, you can overcome fear by trusting him. He says, look at how I take care of the grass and the birds. If I take care of grass and birds, how much more do you think I'll take care of you who are my children? And so the first step that God gives us to overcoming our fear is trusting in him. And then in 1 Peter, he tells us to cast our fears upon him. And so the second part of the overcoming fear process is to take our fears and to lay them down at the feet of Jesus. And once they're there, it's to walk away, to trust that God takes care of them, that he is in control. Because fear has no place in the life of a Christian. So you might believe that God exists, but to live in fear and worry is to behave as if he doesn't. When you worry, when you are afraid, you can call yourself a Christian, but you're living like an atheist. In the church, we talk about faith a lot. It's faith and doubt. And we always pair those two together, which is curious because the opposite of faith isn't doubt, it's fear. That's why God tells us not to be afraid. He tells us to trust in him because he is good, because he is loving, because he cares about us. I mean, God has already proved his interest in our lives. He sent his son to die for us. He chose us. He pursued us even when we were his enemies. So God says, trust me, know that I am good, that I will care for you. And he never promises that our life will be without pain, but he does promise to be with us. And he does promise that one day he'll come and he'll take all that pain away. See, fear has no place in our lives. Because Jesus didn't come so that we could live in fear. He came so that we could live in freedom, because perfect love drives out fear. We fear because we want to know, because we want to be in control. But God knows, and God's in control. And ultimately, that's a better situation because God cares for us better than we could ever care for ourselves. And so the way in which we overcome our fear and the worries and stresses that weigh down our lives so that we can live in the freedom that Jesus brings is by trusting God. It's by placing all of our fears, all of our anxieties at his feet and letting him handle them. You have fear because you want to solve the problem, but you can't. Our job is to lay it at the feet of Jesus and to trust him to take care of it. Because once you lay it down, you walk away and you can experience the joy that comes from a relationship with God and a life that is not lived in fear.